Hello, I'm Amitha Sharma.
And I'm Steve Atkinson.
Welcome to a KPBS and 10 News special broadcast, The Race for Mayor, a debate with the top candidates running for mayor in the city of San Diego.
In an effort to conduct a discussion that allows for time to delve deep into the issues, the threshold for participation has been set at 10% favorability in an independent poll.
Each candidate will have a chance to make an opening statement and respond to questions from our panel of journalists and from our studio audience.
So stay with us as we explore the issue over the next hour. And welcome. 4 candidates are taking part in today's debate. San Diego County District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis, San Diego City Councilman Carl Demaio, Congressman Bob Filner, and Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher. Our panel of reporters, they are KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr, UT San Diego reporter Craig Gustafson, and 10 News anchor Kimberly Hunt. We begin with our opening statements. Each candidate has 1 minute. The order was determined by random draw. So District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis is first. Your time begins now.
Thank you. For the last 9 years as your district attorney, I've made tough decisions to keep our community safer. I've prosecuted corrupt politicians and I've put murderers in prison for life. I'm running for mayor because we need someone who can make those tough decisions in City Hall. As a leader for the last 20 years, I've made big changes in every organization I've been involved in, holding people accountable to benefit the taxpayers. You know me. You trust me. I'm tough, but as a former judge, I'm also fair. I'll bring that same approach to the mayor's office. My vision for San Diego is to be a world-class city. But in order to be a world-class city, we need world-class schools. We can't allow our schools to fail or to be taken over by the state. As your mayor, I'll fix the city schools, and I'll fix them in my first term. Thank you.
Bonnie Dumanis, thank you. Carl Demaio, you are next, and your time begins now.
Thank you very much. I'm running to be San Diego's next mayor because we need to finish the job of fiscal reform. We need to create a city government that all San Diegans can be proud of again. A city government that matches all the treasures that we have in San Diego that we're proud of. I bring to this job 3 important elements of experience. First, I'm a businessman. My company's helped financially troubled organizations, including government agencies, turn around from financial disaster, motivate improved performance, cut costs, and improve results. Second, I'm running on a comprehensive 240-page roadmap to recovery plan that focuses on what I call the 3 Ps: pensions, potholes, and prosperity. How do we finish the job of fiscal reform? How do we repair our crumbling streets and sidewalks? How do we get San Diegans back to work? And into this entire challenge, I bring an agenda
Demaio,
that
your time is up, and please, just a reminder, no more props from now on.
That unites San Diegans to get results. Thank you.
Bob Filner, you are next, and your time begins now.
Thank you. Good evening. You know, I came to San Diego over 40 years ago to teach history at San Diego State, where I taught for over 20 years. I put my children through the San Diego public school system. Now my grandchildren are there. I was elected out of my involvement with my community and my presidency of the PTA, where my children went to school. I was elected to the school board of San Diego and served as its president. In fact, I brought Tom Pazon, probably the best superintendent we've had in San Diego, right here to our town. I was elected twice to the San Diego City Council. I was the one responsible for pushing through the gas lamp plan where I represented the area. I was responsible for bringing a Balboa Park plan, which actually would have taken cars out of the center of Balboa Park without a $40 million expenditure, which would have mars our beauty. And I've served in Congress, where I was proud to chair the Veterans Affairs Committee, where we wrote the 20th Century GI Bill, where we have a plan to end homelessness of veterans in 5 years. So
Mr.
we have
Filner,
had the
your time
experience
is up.
to
We
turn
need
the
to
page
move
on
on
San
now.
Diego.
Mr. Fletcher, you're next, and your time begins now.
Hey, thank you. Our city has faced a rough decade. The current mayor deserves a lot of credit for the progress that's been made, but there still is a lot to do. But this election's about the future. It's about the city we want to be. It's about the direction we want to head. And you're not just picking a mayor, you're picking a tone and temperament. You're picking a vision. You're picking a direction for where we head. In an election, you have candidates that have an allegiance to the far right, some that have an allegiance to the far left, but that won't solve our problems. What will solve our problems is all of us coming together to move San Diego forward. I've led men in combat. I was responsible for the lives of the men under my command. I've made tough decisions. I've demonstrated in a political environment the ability to build coalitions and get things done, passing Chelsea's Law and other efforts. I have a real vision for our city and where we go. I'm prepared and ready to be your next mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Fletcher, thank you. All candidates, thank you for your opening statements. We begin now with our first question, and it comes from the audience. Amitha is there with that.
And this next question is from Russell Buckley with the San Diego Taxpayers Association.
Should comprehensive pension reform pass in June, will you aggressively support implementation of all of its provisions? If not, which will you compromise about, and what will your alternative pension reform plan be?
Carl Demaio, we begin with you. You have 30 seconds to respond.
Thank you. As the author of Comprehensive Pension Reform, Proposition B, I am fully committed to hit the ground running and get taxpayers the pension reform that they deserve. The pension crisis has robbed our neighborhoods of services and infrastructure. It's caused our water bills to skyrocket higher, and your next mayor must fully and faithfully implement every reform in the Comprehensive Pension Reform ballot measure. I believe the coalition I've built will allow me to get the job done.
Mr. Mayo, thank you so much. Bob Filner, that question now goes to you. You have 30 seconds.
You know, I'm the only one up here who opposes Proposition B, so-called pension reform. It's a fraud. It costs money rather than saves money. It doesn't put a nickel into our general fund, and it doesn't solve anything that the pension reform is supposed to solve. I have an approach which not only caps pensions, no more six-figure pensions in San Diego, but refinances that debt so we can put actual money into the general fund, over $500 million over 10 years, to actually fix potholes, open fire stations, open the rec centers, and keep libraries open.
Thank you so much. Your
time
time is up.
Steve, you're doing while the yellow light is on, and I was told that the yellow light is a warning light.
The yellow light gives you 15 seconds.
Right. So when the red light goes on,
red
that's
light
when you should
goes on,
stop
that's
us.
when we'll interrupt you, sir. Thank you.
You've been interrupting before that.
I'm interrupting when we're getting into it. All right. Mr. Fletcher, it is now your turn to answer this question and address it. You have 30 seconds, and I'll give you 30 seconds.
Thank you. Look, I support it. We'll implement it. But to implement it's going to take a mayor that can work with people, a mayor that can sit down and negotiate in good faith, a mayor that can solve problems. We'll implement that. We also put out a detailed plan on our website at nathanfletcher.com for how we'll end the abuses at the management level, because that's where you see the $200,000 a year pensions. But most importantly, we'll solve the problem and we'll move on, because San Diego faces other problems beside just pensions.
Okay, all right.
I'll give Bob my 3 seconds.
All right, you got it. All right.
Reaffirm my opposition.
Now we move on. This same question goes to Bonnie Dumanis. You have 30 seconds.
Thank you. Well, pretty clearly, we cannot afford the system we have. We can't go back, but we can go forward. And the pension initiative does just that. If I'm elected, I will certainly implement the CPR initiative. But what I can do is make real change by bringing everybody together to the table. I have a history and a proven track record of 20 years of doing just that and working with labor organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, District Attorney. Okay, we now move to our panelists. Our first question comes from UT San Diego reporter Craig Gustafson.
Congressman Filner, you have yet to release any major policy initiatives in this race, while your opponents have each issued several. Your campaign pitch so far has essentially been, I'm the only Democrat, vote for me. And can you provide more specifics about what a Filner administration would be like?
I have 1 minute. I just outlined my pension plan, which says put a cap on no more six-figure pensions. I'm glad Nathan has picked that one up from me. I say that we're going to have a negotiation of a 5-year labor contract as part of my pension reform, which will actually bring down the pension debt, and we will refinance the debt at a several % lower interest rate, which will free up money for our general fund. In addition, I have a detailed jobs plan which centers on the port and making our city a major maritime center, which says we ought to become the alternative capital of the country by saying that all public buildings, for example, be solar powered, which creates enormous demand for the private sector to meet. We should have a border where we leave $6 billion on the table every year because the border is inefficient. It's time to make that efficient for legal crossers so people can shop, go to restaurants, visit their family, spend money. I have a detailed pension plan, a detailed jobs plan.
Congressman Filner, the red light is on. Your time is up.
Right there.
There is proof. Greg, do you have a follow-up?
I just want to follow that up. So you keep talking about this pension plan, but you haven't released it publicly yet. When is the public going to see that?
And sir, you have 30 seconds to respond to the follow-up.
You know, I just stated the pension plan, Craig. I just stated it. I'll state it again. I'm opposed to Proposition B. I'm opposed to Proposition B because not only is it unfair, it throws the public employees under the bus because they don't have Social Security, and they're subject to the stock market without that may go tank, and therefore they may have nothing. It's not only fair, it does not do anything fiscally. My plan, as I said, I cap pensions, I refinance, and I negotiate a 5-year labor pact. Is there something about that you're missing there, Craig?
And your time is up, sir. We must move on now. Mr. Fletcher, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Yeah, I think it takes a number of things out of a mayor. It takes not only plans. We've laid out plans for clean water. We've laid out plans for infrastructure. Yesterday we did one on energy, where I believe we can save $86 million in general fund expenditures by reducing the city's infrastructure. We've talked about bike plans, veterans, streamlining permitting process, but it takes more than just plans. It takes specific plans to tell the public what you're going to do, and it demonstrates a track record of working with people regardless of party, or maybe no party, to actually be able to get things done. And I'm proud to say that we have both.
Mr. Fletcher, thank you so much. District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Well, certainly as the chief executive officer of a large organization, I know how to implement plans. You can have all the plans in the world, but if you can't get it done, it really doesn't matter. Bob, by the way, where is the proof about the savings that you present in your plan? That's why we want to see a plan.
Thank you, District Attorney. All right, we move on to Carl Demaio. You have 30 seconds to respond.
Thank you. I'm not just going to put out plans, although we've laid out 240-plus pages of ideas on how to fix roads, get jobs created, and fix our finances. I'm not waiting to be mayor to get these plans implemented. I'm proud of the fact that on the council, using public pressure, we've been able to push forward over $140 million in cost-saving ideas. And my plan is now on the ballot for road repairs with Proposition A, and my pension reform solution is on the ballot with Proposition B. I'm not waiting to be mayor to get things done. I'm working with you, the people, to hit the ground running.
Your time is up. Thank you. Mr. Filner, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Well, I thought I have outlined my plan very clearly. I have seen no proof, by the way, that Proposition B will save this city a nickel. You talk about proof, Bonnie. I want to see proof where a nickel is saved. The independent budget analyst said it would cost us. It cost $100 million in the first 6 years for transition costs. Then, the cost may go down, but the net cost, it's a net cost to the city. There is absolutely no savings to the city because of the pension plan, because of so-called pension reform, and I'd like to see your proof.
Mr. Filner, thank you so much. We go back to our panelists. KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr has the next question for Mr. Fletcher.
Right, Mr. Fletcher, you notably left the GOP a few weeks ago and are now running for mayor as an independent. You said you were making the decision after a lot of soul searching. Others have said it was a calculated political move you made after you did not receive the local GOP endorsement. What's your response to that?
Mr. Fletcher, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, this is reflective, I think, in so many ways. You see a broken political environment. You see an environment where parties have lost sense with what their principles are. You see parties where it's not about solving a problem, it's about preserving a problem to campaign on. You see an environment where the substance of the idea matters very little, it's whose idea is it. And whether we look at local or state or federal, we see an environment where the public's rightly frustrated that problems aren't getting solved, things aren't getting done. And I wanted to convey to San Diegans that, consistent with my entire time in office, I'm willing to work with people of any party to solve our problems, to move us forward. And as mayor, I won't be beholden to either of the extremes, the far right or the far left. I'll be willing to work with people to solve problems, to move us forward, because the current environment is broken. And regular folks are demanding something better. They're demanding a mayor who's going to actually rebuild our city, a mayor who's going to actually move us into a better future. and that's what I represent.
Mr. Fletcher, thank you. Katie, you have a follow-up?
Well, do you anticipate rejoining the party in the future if you seek a future political office? There's not a whole lot of room for an independent in other partisan races.
No, I don't, because I'm not worried about my political future. I'm worried about rebuilding San Diego. What I care about is the opportunities afforded to us here where we can rebuild our economy, we can help our public schools, we can rebuild our city infrastructure and our quality of life in our neighborhoods. But in order to do that, it's going to take a mayor who's going to be an independent voice. It's going to take someone who's willing to stand up to just do the right thing and not worry about what partisan consequences might be.
Mr. Fletcher, thank you so much. Bonnie Dumanis, you have 30 seconds to respond to the issue of partisanship.
Well, I certainly didn't need to leave the party to get independents, Democrats and Republicans. I've got a broad base of support, and I've worked with all of those groups for the last 20 years to make things happen here in San Diego. This is not a stepping stone for me.
Carl Demaio, you now have 30 seconds to respond to the issue of partisanship.
I don't think the issue is what political party you belong to and how do you register, but rather, are you independent from the downtown insiders and powerful government union bosses that have controlled our city government for so many years? When I first started uncovering the city's financial problems as a watchdog in 2003, I had to take on a Republican mayor and a Democratic council. And as we've advanced to reform, we've had to unite San Diegans from all political parties to get results. My agenda unites San Diegans across political, socio, and economic boundaries, and as mayor, I will continue that.
Mr. Demaio, thank you so much. Bob Filner, you have 30 seconds to speak on this issue.
You know, I'm the only candidate up here that will break the stranglehold that special interests have on San Diego and have had probably for 50 years. That is, we have one group running San Diego. They're all part of it. They all support, for example, the most blatant giveaway of public money that I've seen in decades in the convention center financing. They told a private group, not only can you vote a public tax, but can you control how $35 million of it is spent. That's special interest, and that's what all three of these guys on my left and my right, they all support it.
And your time is up, sir. Thank you so much. Nathan Fletcher, you now have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Yeah, you have a real choice in this election. You have one candidate who pledges to make San Diego the Wisconsin of the West, which panders to the far right. You have another that's been rated as one of the most partisan members of Congress and towed the party line on the left. And you have an independent voice, someone who's going to work with people regardless of party to solve our problems, and that's what it's going to take because the current environment is broken. It's frustrated. Regular people are frustrated because nothing gets done, nothing gets solved. And what I'm saying is we have an opportunity in this election to really begin new, to work with people, to solve problems, to focus on solutions, and to rebuild our city.
Your time is up. Thank you so much. We go back to our audience for our next question. Amitha Sharma has that.
And this question is to all the candidates from Vivian Toscano with the San Diego Organizing Project.
How would you as mayor sustain and support small businesses and the creation of local employment opportunities in all parts of San Diego?
Bonnie Dumanis, we begin with you. You have 30 seconds.
Well, first, I support San Diego first. I think we need to put our San Diegans to work, and small business is the backbone of San Diego. So we've got to cut the red tape at City Hall. We've got to change the culture to make things easier for business. Let's default to yes instead of no and help businesses expand and stay in San Diego.
Thank you, Bonnie Dumanis. Councilman Carl Demaio, your response now in 30 seconds.
As the only small business owner running for mayor, I understand the challenges faced by our small business owners. They're sick and tired of a city hall bureaucracy that makes it harder for them to succeed in this troubling environment. I'm already showing that I will stand up for them by defeating the sales tax, working with citizens to defeat Proposition D, the largest tax increase in the history of the city, and by changing the culture at City Hall by cutting red tape to make it easier for businesses to get through the process.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Mr. Filner, your response, 30 seconds.
Thank you for what you do at San Diego Organizing Project, and I'm going to take the emphasis, knowing your organization, on what will you do for all neighborhoods, because all neighborhoods have not been included in either the economic or political power of the city. And the only one who's going to change that is Bob Filner. I will just give you one little example, but I've been working on these issues, as you know, for over 50 years. When I was on the city council, we raised the so-called affirmative action hiring from less than 1% to over 7%. That's not enough. but that was a 7-fold increase. And when our majority was recalled on the city council, it went back to under 1, where I think it still is. That will change.
Mr. Filner, thank you so much. Mr. Fletcher, you now have 30 seconds to respond to this question.
Yeah, in a lot of areas we've seen uneven distribution. You see it in infrastructure where certain neighborhoods have been left behind in quality of life services. And I've demonstrated this in my time in the legislature. I worked with Governor Jerry Brown to close a loophole that only benefited out-of-state corporations, to provide real tax relief to small businesses, to the working poor, to those who are here. And as mayor, I'll do the same thing. I'm proud to be the candidate of the California Small Business Association, and we'll work to rebuild all of our communities and all of our neighborhoods and never lose sight of the importance of the middle class.
Mr. Fletcher, thank you so much. We go back to our panelists for our next question. Katie Orr has this one for Carl Demaio.
Mr. Demaio, you recently voted to switch control of booking conventions from the Public Convention Center Board to the Private Convention and Visitors Board. Critics have said this move was rushed, that there are no guidelines that Convis must meet, and that it's just a move to ensure hoteliers vote to implement a tax to fund the convention center expansion. You often speak of running the city with smart business practices. So why did you vote to support this move when it appears to raise many unanswered questions?
Mr. Demaio, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I support the expansion of the convention center because it's so critical to our economy. Thousands of jobs are on the line, and we will lose events like Comic-Con if we don't expand the convention center. I believe that our convention center can do better at attracting large events, and I want to put that effort to market San Diego in the hands of Convis, because they're already marketing San Diego, and they're focused on how do we bring large events in. I made the motion, and the motion actually requires business principles like performance measures and targets. And as a result of my motion, they will now have to come back to the City Council and show measures and accountability to increase business for San Diego. That's running San Diego city government like a business, and I will do that as mayor.
Katie, you have a follow-up?
Right. The last 2 convention center expansions were voted on by the public. Why is this one any different?
Well, the last 2 convention center expansions involved public money through the TOT, transient occupancy tax. Under my convention center expansion proposal, the hoteliers will have to take the responsibility for financing the expansion. And as mayor, I will continue to work to ensure that we get the net benefit, the revenue, the surplus of any shows that come into San Diego. I believe that that's fair because taxpayers funded Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the convention center. It's time for the business community to take the responsibility for Phase 3.
And your time is up. Mr. Filner, we move on to you. You have 30 seconds to respond.
30 seconds is not enough to talk about Carl Demaio's just wrong-headed approach here. Not only, this is not about the convention center expansion, it's about the financing. Second, how can you call the vote on a transient occupancy tax not taxpayer-funded? It is a public tax, and you've given the right to vote on that to a private group. Not only the right to vote on it, the right to control the $35 million a year. By the way, you voted on a $1 billion tax increase in addition to that. So we not only have they control $35 million, but they're a private group. They're going to advertise their own facilities, not the public convention center. That's a giveaway to private interests.
Mr. Filner, your time is up. The red light is on. We move on to Mr. Fletcher. You now have 30 seconds to respond.
Yeah, we need to expand the convention center because there's good jobs, both in building the expansion and the people that work in that, but it has to be done right. You know, you have one candidate, Carl Demaio, who will support a convention center expansion without a legal and enforceable cap, which puts the city general fund on the hook. You have another, Bob Filner, that doesn't want to expand it at all. I want to do it, but it has to be done right. Taxpayers have to be protected, good local jobs have to be ensured, and we can do that with the right approach.
Sir? All right, Bonnie Dumanis, you have 30 seconds to respond to this question.
Well, I support the convention center. I think we need jobs, and we need them now. And it's moving right along. There are still obstacles, and that will be tested in the courtroom. We need transparency, though, in the process, and so if it's implemented, I'll make sure that we all know what's happening and make sure that there are practices that hold everybody accountable to benefit the taxpayer.
Carl Demaio, you now have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
You know, in business, when you advance an important project where a lot of jobs are on the line, a lot of investment can be is at stake, you have to make bold decisions. And I'm going to make bold decisions to move San Diego's economy forward because we have too many people in San Diego who are unemployed and underemployed. And I'd like to, thank Mr. Fletcher for agreeing with my proposal to impose a cap on this deal. It's frustrating when you have someone support your idea and then turn around and take it as their own and criticize you for not supporting it.
Mr. Demaio, your time is up, unfortunately. But we still have more to come. We're going to take a short break, but stick around.
When we return, the candidates will have an opportunity to ask each other questions. Welcome back to the KPBS and 10 News special broadcast, The Race for Mayor, a debate with the top candidates running for mayor in the city of San Diego. We're going to turn the tables now. Each candidate will get to ask every other candidate on the panel a question. You will have up to 30 seconds to respond, and each of the selected candidates will have 30 seconds to respond. Congressman Bob Filner, you're up next.
I'd just like to correct one thing for the record, because I think a couple candidates referred to it. I am not against expansion of the convention center. I am for jobs. I am for the middle class. I'm for breaking the special interest hold on City Hall. The particular effort, but mainly the finance, the particular plan, but mainly the financing scheme is the one that we have to concentrate on, because what the City Council did.
Filner, do you have a question?
No, you gave me 30 seconds. I don't have a question for the others. I think that's for the audience. I just want to correct for the record. And again, what Mr. Demaio is in favor of is a private group putting a public tax and controlling the public money. That belongs to the public,
Congressman
not to the
Filner,
private
your time
sector.
is up.
Can I respond to that since it was dedicated to me?
You may.
As I said, as mayor, I have to make tough decisions, and this one is actually not such a tough decision. It's about jobs. It's about the fact that too many San Diegans are unemployed, too many are underemployed. And the expansion of the convention center is a critical economic investment. And this expansion will be done by private investment from the hoteliers, and we are protecting taxpayers. I will always craft deals that are good for taxpayers and good for our working families.
Nathan Fletcher, it's time for you to ask another candidate a question.
Thank you. My question's for Carl Demaio. Carl, you've criticized me for my support from the San Diego police officers, an endorsement that I'm honored to have because I know what it means to put your life on the line. I've worked with them to implement reforms, to pass reforms, to save potentially millions of dollars, and when I've disagreed with them, I've done it in a way that wasn't grandstanding or treated them poorly, but just said we have a principled opposition. But you've said that you wouldn't take the support because you wouldn't take support from anyone that you as mayor would have to negotiate with. You said you'd be beholden to someone if you accepted their support. You say that, but yet you've taken more money from lobbyists,
Nathan
developers,
Fletcher, your
and
time
City
is
Hall
up.
insiders than anyone
Carl
else.
Demaio,
So
will you please
have you met with them
respond?
behind closed
I would
doors?
be happy to respond.
You have 30 seconds.
First, Mr. Fletcher says that he wants to end the politics of personal attacks and division, and yet he's running one of the most negative campaigns San Diego has seen. He's using attacks from the government employee labor unions, and we have responded time and time again to each of those attacks. They're actually posted on my website under the reality check section. Direct answers bolstered by facts. As mayor, I'm going to bring a new openness and transparency into City Hall, and our decisions and our any sort of approvals
and Carl
will be
Demaio,
done in
your
public.
time is up. DA Bonnie Dumanis, it's your turn to ask another candidate a question. You have 30 seconds.
Okay, Bob. I'm going to ask you again about the pension because you said there's no proof that there are savings. Well, as the independent budget analysis shows, over $900 million in savings. The Taxpayers Association has also done an analysis that shows between $1 and $2 billion in savings. And you've actually said that you've done an analysis. Why don't you show us your plan and the proof that your plan does what you say it will? Show us the analysis.
You know, Bonnie, the independent budget analysis said that there is no savings from the zero, in fact, it costs from the pension, so-called pension reform proposal as it exists. The savings comes from a hope-for 0% salary increase on our employees for 5 years. You can't do that in a referendum. The referendum doesn't do that. And if you look at what a pension obligation bond can return at about at a 6% interest, what it would cost over the life of the bond, I say $550 million over the proposed plan.
Congressman Filner, your
10
time
years.
is up. Councilman Demaio, it's your turn to ask a candidate a question. You have 30 seconds.
Thank you. I believe in transparency. As a City Hall watchdog, as a reformer, I have fought to make sure that all elected officials are as transparent as possible. So I have a question for Nathan Fletcher. Are you currently under investigation for an ethics violation? And if so, what is the nature of the investigation and the violation you are alleged to have conducted?
You have 30 seconds to respond.
Yeah, as usual, Carl, your facts are off. We're not under any investigation by the Ethics Commission. But I do find it ironic that you would ask a question about transparency, given after you were fined by that Ethics Commission for breaking campaign finance laws, you tried to defund them. So no, we're not under any investigation, but it is ironic that you would choose to do that. And back to yes or no on transparency, have you met with those lobbyists funding your campaign behind closed doors? Direct answer, yes or no?
I will meet with anyone who has ideas on cutting costs at city government.
I'm sorry,
and
I have to interrupt you. The next question goes to Kimberly Hunt.
This question goes to Nathan Fletcher first. There's been talk of a new Chargers stadium for over 15 years now, and NFL G3 funds are now gone. So who needs to come together, and what is the financial formula that may work in San Diego to either get a new stadium or to improve Qualcomm to make it Super Bowl ready?
Nathan Fletcher, you have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you. The stadium conversation has to be broader. It has to be how do we rebuild the entire community, not just downtown. I've called for a creative or innovative district where we open up things like EB5 financing, where we can get foreign investment into our project, about how we create a zone for high technology for job creation, about how we consolidate the sports arena operations, create a workforce training center there, about how we redo the existing Qualcomm site to create an area for housing and open space and parks. But all of that has to be done with a financing mechanism that actually returns money to the taxpayers. Doesn't have the taxpayers paying for it, and I believe with the right leadership we can get that done.
Kimberly, do you have a follow-up?
We're good. I'll let the other candidates answer as well.
Bonnie Dumanis, you have 30 seconds.
Well, good question, Kimberly. I'd sure like to keep the Chargers here. I think it's important to San Diego, but I wouldn't do it at taxpayer expense. And I think it should be a sports entertainment facility that's open more than just for football. But we have to look at ways to creatively finance it that isn't going to impact our taxpayers and take away from core services.
Well, I'm open to the discussions with the team because I'd like
No,
to...
Councilman Carl Demaio, you're not next.
I'm not next?
I'm sorry.
I am next.
You are next.
All right, that's
Forgive
okay.
me.
No problem. Of course, I'm open to the conversation. I want to keep the Chargers here. They're a regional economic asset, an entertainment and sports and stadium complex, a joint facility that would be used year-round would be a good thing for our region. But we have to make sure that it's privately financed. We do not have the funds to give a handout to the NFL and a billionaire. And it has to be put to a public vote. And my concern with some of the other candidates is they've not given as firm a commitment on that as they should.
Bob Filner, your response?
I wish you had applied those principles to the convention center. But, you know, I love the Chargers. But you got a billionaire owner of a team that makes hundreds of millions of dollars, and they want $600 million from the public. I say no to any further extortion. But I'm a negotiator, but a tough negotiator. If the Chargers want to say to the city of San Diego, we'll give you some public ownership. I like Nathan's idea about making it a broader discussion so we can, in fact, look at the convention center in a new way and make it cheaper and not just give away the money to the private sector. So let's look at these broad ideas, but let's not give away to extortion of the NFL.
Nathan Fletcher, the rebuttal goes to you. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, I interrogated al-Qaeda. I'm going to be tough enough to negotiate a good stadium deal. But the conversation is, how do we really move ourselves forward? How do we do it in a way that protects taxpayers? How do we do it in a way that puts people back to work? How do we do it in a way that rebuilds the creative economies and creates a zone where these younger workers want to live and work and play in the same area? An area that has culture, an area that has transit and walkable communities. But most importantly, how do we do it in a way that doesn't just benefit one area of town? Because you don't build a great city by focusing on one. It has to benefit all of the neighborhoods. We have to lift our entire city up.
And your time is up. Craig Gustafson, the next question goes to you.
Yeah, each candidate has a political identity that they've tried to fashion for themselves. And Demaio's the pension reformer, Filner's the Democrat, Fletcher's the next generation of leadership. Bonnie Dumanis, can you explain what your political identity is and why it's the best fit for the next mayor of San Diego?
And you have 1 minute to answer.
Sure. I'm a CEO of a large organization with 1,000 employees, a budget of $140 million, and work with 3 labor organizations. I think that in order to be the next mayor, the mayor is the CEO. You need that experience. It's one thing to be a legislator for 3 years or for 20, but you can't do the same thing as a legislator that you can do as a chief executive. So it's the right experience that I have, and the right experience matters.
Craig, do you have a follow-up? Okay. Carl Demaio, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I respect Bonnie Dumanis. I think she's done an exceptional job as district attorney. And imagine what more great results she can accomplish when we keep her as our district attorney for the next 2 years.
Thank you, Carl.
Bob Filner, you have 30 seconds.
I thank Craig for defining our identities. You know, I'm the guy, as I've said before, and has been proven by our answers, the one who's going to speak up for the middle class and all the neighborhoods of our city and break the stranglehold that special interests have had for, almost 50 years. It is time to, in fact, for example, create a neighborhood investment corporation where we can focus on the infrastructure of all our neighborhoods and not just give away subsidies to downtown special interests.
Nathan Fletcher, you're next.
Yeah, I represent that fresh start that San Diego's dying for. You know, we've had a rough decade, and it's time we actually spend a decade talking about where we're going and not where we've been. We bring a new energy, a new set of ideas, someone that can work with anyone. I've worked with the environmental community on clean water issues. I've worked with the business community on job creation. I've worked with labor on infrastructure and reform a retiree health care system. I can work with all parties with a focus on moving us forward into a better future.
Bonnie Dumanis, your rebuttal is 30 seconds.
Well, you know, as a leader for the last 20 years, I've been an innovator with lots of fresh ideas. I've actually implemented those fresh ideas. Drug court, veterans court, all of the things that reentry court, we've been doing it for a long time. And so I'm ready and have plenty of energy, by the way, to get it done.
Steve Atkinson is in the audience right now with a question for our panel. Steve.
All right, we have our next question from Ann Tart with the Equinox Center.
Thank you. All of you have spoken for the need of an improved transportation system in order for San Diego to be America's finest city, to truly be that. What do you see as the most significant barrier to creating a transportation system that better serves all San Diegans, and what solutions do you propose?
Carl Demaio, we begin with you, and you have 30 seconds.
How about we properly maintain our existing transportation system? You know, years ago, politicians balanced the budget by not paying their full pension payment. Today, politicians at City Hall are trying to say they have a balanced budget by underfunding our basic road repair and maintenance projects. As mayor, I'm going to end that because I believe that we need to rebuild our neighborhoods, starting with our streets and our sidewalks. The cost that we impose on neighborhoods in terms of worsening quality of life and the damage to their cars. I think that we need to get the basics back, which is why road repairs will be
Demaio,
my
your
top
time
priority.
is up. Bob Filner, you have 30 seconds.
You know, we've had a system of government which approved, you know, these major suburban developments connected with freeways. The obstacle has been no leadership to say we need a livable, walkable, bikeable city. There's been no leadership that says we need more public transportation. There is no leadership, you know, that says it's time that we had transit-oriented development where we can lower the cost of housing by building on transportation corridors and bringing them together. We have not had leadership which said where you work ought to be a function, also about a function of where you can live.
And your time is up. Your response?
Yeah, it's about more than potholes. We're going to fill your potholes if I'm elected your mayor, but we're going to do so much more than that. Sandiag estimates that 1 million people will come to our region in the next 20 years. It's time to have a serious conversation about how we accommodate that in the right way. We're going to protect our open space. We're going to make sure we have clean water, but we've put out a detailed bike plan. We've talked about more transit. We've talked about building the neighborhoods of the future for a better San Diego, but that takes vision, leadership, and an ability to get it done.
And Bonnie Dumanis, you have 30 seconds to respond to that question.
I live in Little Italy. It's a livable, walkable community. We need more of those. We need transit-oriented development. We also need, though, to fix our streets, and we have to improve our public transportation. We need to fix our roads, but we also have to have a trolley and public transportation.
And Kimberly Hunt has the next question for Bob Filner.
Bob, for years, our ocean water has been affected by periodic spills from the Tijuana sewage treatment plant. What can you do as the mayor of San Diego to set the guidelines, enforcement, punishment to prevent such spills and other ways to keep our water cleaner?
Excuse me, Kimberly.
You have 1 minute to respond.
This is an important question. It's one I've been working on for a long time. You know, for many years, for decades here, we didn't even have a waste treatment plant to treat the sewage. When I was as a member of Congress, I got the money to fund that sewage treatment plant so we could treat it. Unfortunately, it did not have full funding to secondary level. I tried to put in place a plan that would have a public-private partnership that would treat the water in Mexico and in fact create recyclable water for San Diego. That plan was shot down by the Senate, unfortunately. As mayor, as the executive, you can take the leadership role in ways that a legislator could not do. You can, in fact, say it is time that we did not foul our beaches, we did not create problems for the neighborhoods along the border, that we actually cleaned up the sewage to a level that we know we can do, and also that we can recycle that water for the benefit of both sides of the border.
And Kimberly, do you have a follow-up? Then Nathan Fletcher, can you respond?
Yeah, our beaches and bays are some of our greatest natural treasures. There's something I enjoy on a regular basis, both surfing, taking my boys out when we go to the beach, and we need to make a real commitment to be good stewards of the environment we have. I'm the only candidate that's actually put out a clean water plan that talks about getting us in compliance with the Federal Clean Water Act, that talks about increasing penalties for those that pollute and using those increased fines to invest in better generators and backup systems so we don't see sewage spills. I've called for the mayor to make an annual State of the Environment address and have a mayoral dashboard where we monitor sewage spills, water quality, and other things so we can tell San Diegans we care about our environment.
And your time is up. Bonnie Dumanis, that question now goes to you.
Yes, in my 100-day plan, I've actually put in a special assistant for U.S.-Mexico commerce and to deal with issues between Mexico and San Diego. So as mayor, it's the relationships that one will develop to get that regulation and implementation. Our bays and our beaches are one of our greatest resources and bring people here. We've got to protect them, and we have to protect our environment.
Carl Demaio.
For San Diego, clean water is not only an environmental issue, it's an economic issue because our core strength, our beaches, our bays, attract millions of visitors a year. We have to protect our shoreline. That's why, as mayor, I am the only candidate who's proposed a reorganization plan to create a division of environment and stormwater management. And I've laid out a plan to cut the red tape in our water and wastewater departments so we can get money into projects like water pipe and sewer pipe replacement, where the city is woefully behind schedule and over cost on these important projects.
Bob Filner, back to you for rebuttal.
Carl, you need not only be transparent, you need to answer the question once in a while. But look, I am the only candidate who has been talking about the relationships between Mexico and the United States, Mexico and San Diego. I've represented the border on the city council. I've represented the border in Congress. I have the contacts, I have the experience and the knowledge to deal with our partners on the other side to really fix this problem. This is a binational issue. I don't care how good we are. We're not going to fix it on our own. And if you want someone with experience on working in a binational way, it's going to have to be in a Bob Filner administration.
Your time is up. Perfect timing. Our next question comes from KPBS's Public Insight Network. This question was submitted by Omar Passan. He asks, what do you plan to do to address the poor quality of roads and lack of street signs in many communities, especially older neighborhoods? We'll begin with Congressman Bob Filner. You have got 30 seconds.
You know, we have spent decades in reinvesting in downtown. And we've done a good job. As I said, I represented downtown. The gas lamp is a different thing than it was, 20 years ago. But CCDC, the Center City Development Corporation, has done its job. It's time for a neighborhood investment corporation to take all that money, hundreds of millions of dollars that was put into tax increment financing, and invest in our neighborhoods. The infrastructure, whether it's potholes, whether it's parking, whether it's landscaping, whether it's the parks, whatever it is, I could spend 2 minutes in every neighborhood and find out the most important infrastructure needs. But it's time for the city to meet them.
And your time is up, Nathan Fletcher.
Yeah, we have a challenge in rebuilding our city, and we have a challenge in having a mayor that's going to commit to equitable distribution of funds. When you go into a community like Stockton and you see that they don't have streetlights, and for 3 years the money's been sitting there but it hasn't gotten spent, you see a city that isn't being taken care of in a broad sense. When I go to Encanto and I have Ms. Pearl Brown tell me 25 years trying to get her streets repaved. When you go to San Ysidro and you see these, and we need a mayor that's going to commit to rebuilding our entire city, not just one area.
Bonnie Dumanis.
I'm not sure. Was the question about streets and fixing them?
Yes. What do you plan to do about the poor quality of our streets?
In that discussion. Okay. The thing that I would do is, first of all, as mayor, I'm going to get someone right away to work on the backlog that now exists. But we have to spend the money we have, and in order to do that, we have to cut the red tape and get it out of purchasing and contracting and focus on that. And we need a system, just like the city auditor pointed out in his audit. We've got to get our fiscal house in order so that we can take care of business.
And it's time, Carl Demaio.
San Diego already has the 8th worst roads in the country, and under the current plan at City Hall, the roads will get worse. As mayor, I'm going to end that. I'm going to get our roads back up to national standards. We've laid out a detailed plan that includes a road repair lockbox that will provide cost savings so that we can fund $497 million in repairs. We will hold work crews accountable, and I'm not waiting to be mayor to get this done. A large part of my plan is on the ballot, Proposition A, fair and open competition in city construction.
We have to take a short break now. Stay with us. When we return, each candidate will give their closing statements. We are at the end of the question portion of our debate.
Each candidate will now have 1 minute to make a closing statement. Again, based on a random draw, Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher goes first.
Well, thank you for having us. I appreciate the opportunity to come out and talk about the future of our city. You know, we are having a real debate with a real choice about the direction we will head, not only as a city, but a region moving forward. And I believe that to advance where we want to go, to become the world's most innovative city, to rebuild our economy, our education system in our city, it's going to take something new. It's going to take an independent voice to do the right thing. I've demonstrated leadership in the Marine Corps. I've shown in the State Assembly I can get things done, whether it was passing Chelsea's Law or tax reform or lowering the regulatory burden. I've demonstrated I can work with all sides, regardless of party, regardless of coalition. I have a real passion for our city. I have a great desire to see us move forward into a better future, and I'm ready to be your next mayor. Thank you.
Congressman Bob Filner.
Thank you. You know, we have one candidate who talks about our experience, another talks about fiscal conservatives, another talk about turning the page to a new San Diego. I got them all. I've been on the city council. I've been on the school board. I've been in Congress. And my first bill, Carl, that passed in Congress because it dealt with our sewage treatment plant, saved the taxpayers of this city $6 billion. $6 billion on one bill. So, and if you really want to turn the page to a new San Diego, you got to break the stranglehold on City Hall by special interests. That's the only way you turn the page in San Diego. You got to represent all of the neighborhoods. You have to give all the people in the city economic and political power, be a part of the action. We've only had a few people taking part in those decisions, only a few people saying what the direction was going to go. The vote that just took place in the city council is a perfect example. Give away the public money to private groups. They decide how our money is going to be spent. It's time for a new page. It's time to break the stranglehold of special interests on City Hall.
Mr. Filner, your time is up. Carl Demaio, you have 1 minute.
We've been on a journey, a rough journey for the past decade, to try to confront our city's financial crisis. I'm running for mayor because it's time to finish the job of fiscal reform and get back what we've lost over the past decade, our road repairs, our neighborhood services. You'll need a mayor that can stand up to the special interests, the government unions, to achieve results. A mayor who will stand with you, the people, and unite the people behind a bold reform agenda. When the insiders said we didn't have a financial crisis, I stood with you, the people, to help uncover it. When the insiders said that we should raise our taxes by passing Proposition D, the largest tax increase in the history of the city, I stood with you, the people, and we defeated it. When the insiders said that you couldn't reform these bloated pensions at City Hall, I stood with you, the people, and we collected a historic number of signatures so that pension reform will be in your hands on the June ballot. As mayor, I will continue to stand with you, the people, and confront every challenge facing our city.
District Attorney, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. You know, I've worked my way up in San Diego from a clerk typist to a prosecutor to a Superior Court judge to the district attorney. I've made tough decisions my entire career, and I've broken some glass ceilings along the way. We're at a critical moment right now in our city's history. This office is too important to trust to someone who has never made the same kind of decisions that I have. Being a Sacramento politician or a Washington insider does not prepare you to be mayor. You know, I'm not going to stand up here and give you a bunch of bull. I tell it like it is. I'm tough and I'm fair. That's why Democrats, Republicans, and independents have stepped up to endorse me, including Mayor Sanders. I'll put San Diego on the map as a place where great things are happening. And I can't do it alone.
And that's your time, and that's all we have time for.
We do thank you for joining us.